contain 4 sections. I am going to review and do a small analysis of the book. I never spoil the entire fun for the people who haven't read it yet. Hesse's character names reflect an ancient Indian tradition. This is an example of the Theravada tradition. The first translation that I had picked was just awful. Next two translations were really good. Most of you are going to read the translations, so I shall recommend those two translations. Sometimes a book within just a few number of pages can push you to think, interpret, introspect and reflect. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse is one such book. Hey guys, welcome back to Book Island. If you are new here, well, I am your bookish pal Juhi and here I post book related contents. Today, as the title says, I am going to review and do a small analysis of the book Siddhartha. My book reviews mostly contain 4 sections. Few facts about the author and the general description of the book, and my thoughts on the contents as well as the features of the book. Siddhartha is actually written in German. I don't know German, so obviously I have read a few translations of the book by different translators. So the section where I discuss the language of the book, that will be based on the translated versions I have read. I shall also recommend a few translations to you people because the first translation that I had picked was just awful. Terrible sentence structure and choice of words. Next two translations were really good. Most of you are going to read the translations, so I shall recommend those two translations for sure later in this video. Now enough of the introduction. Without any further ado, let me begin. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse is actually a philosophical novella. Hermann Karl Hesse was a German-Swiss poet, novelist and painter. He received Nobel Prize in Literature in 1946. The book Siddhartha was published in 1922, originally in German language. As I have already said, it was inspired by Hesse's visit to India before World War I. The book actually tracks the spiritual journey of self-discovery of a man named Siddhartha during the time of Gautama Buddha. The term Siddhartha is actually a combination of two words. First, Siddha, which means achieved, and next, Artha, which refers to meaning. So together they mean someone who has achieved meaning. Which meaning? The meaning of existence. In fact, Buddha's own name before his renunciation was Siddhartha Gautama, the prince of Kapilavastu. In this book, the Buddha is referred to as Gautama. Many people often mistake taking this book Siddhartha as some kind of biography of the Buddha, but it isn't the fact. The book Siddhartha tells the story of a man who sets off on a pilgrimage to reach enlightenment. Siddhartha's journey begins as a Brahmin, but he decides to abandon his family to become a traveling ascetic known as Samana. While being with the company of Samanas, he picks up 3 valuable skills. These are to think, to wait, and to act quickly. He then encounters the Buddha, who teaches him that nothing can be taught unless it is learned for oneself. He decides not to be a disciple of Buddha as his friend Govinda, who also accompanies him until that time. Next, in his journey towards self-realization, he meets a courtesan named Kamala. he learns the skill of loving from her. What makes it even more intriguing is the condition that Kamala will only make love to a wealthy man. Therefore, he starts working as a trader. In course of time, Siddhartha falls prey to greed and materialism during this time. But realization soon comes and he starts over, leaving everything behind. Saying the word starts over is wrong because he has gathered experiences from each moments of his life, even the moments where he falls prey to materialism. This event beautifully captures the fact that no time is actually wasted. The experience matters. There are even more events to come. Neither asceticism, including fasting, nor do wealth and sensuality, and the attention of a lovely woman, Kamala, proved satisfying to Siddhartha. Despairing of finding fulfillment, he goes to the river and there learns simply to listen. He finds within himself a spirit of love and learns to accept human separateness. In the end, Siddhartha grabs the wholeness of life and achieves a state of bliss and highest wisdom. He is going to meet many people and experience many more things. But I never spoil the entire fun for the people who haven't read it yet. So to know them, please read the book. Now coming to my thoughts on the book. If the first part of the novel is imbued with ascetic sensibility, the second part gives free rein to a more voluptuous sensibility reflecting Hindu devotional heterogeneity. It portrays one's behavior towards the outside world. It helps us to understand what is right and what's wrong. It shows that without experiencing, one cannot understand properly why something is wrong. So, without properly experiencing or understanding something, one shouldn't jump into the conclusion and attain some kind of view or behavior. The book also teaches us the difference between knowledge and wisdom. It answers why some parts or ways suggested by scholars or leaders may not always be best path to follow for us. We all are different, so are our lives. The paths are bound to be different, right? The book portrays the idea that we are blessed with life experiences that help us to discover the reality of existence as well as our very own existence. Siddhartha never follows the character Gautama, actually Gautama Buddha, like his friend Govinda, but actually he honors him following his examples rather than following him in person. This is an example of the Theravada tradition which had developed later based on Buddha's philosophy and morals as a model. According to this tradition, the path to enlightenment is a lonely one and no one can guide another to enlightenment. Buddha's The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path as well as the Pali Canon are useful guides, but each person's route is unknown and it is up to them to figure out how to attain enlightenment. The irony is that Siddhartha, a fictional character who appears to disregard Gautama, is the sole Gautama disciple who gains enlightenment because he doesn't worship him as a god following the Theravada tradition. I am going to talk more on this book, but before moving forward, I want to tell you guys that YouTube tells 80% of you people watch my content but haven't subscribed yet. So if you really enjoy my content, please do subscribe because it really encourages me to create fresh new contents. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that whenever I post a bookish video, it just knocks your phone. Now back to today's topic. Next comes Hesse's naming of the characters. Hesse's character names reflect an ancient Indian tradition of utilizing archetypal or stereotypical values for a character, and the character is meant to be an incarnation of the name provided rather than an actual person. It provides a recognizable impression for their intended audience. Let me properly explain. In the first section, we find Siddhartha, a Sanskritized version of the historical Buddha's name that means he who has attained his goals. Next comes the name of his friend Govinda. Literally means cowherd. Here acts as an epithet of young Krishna. Gotama, the historical Buddha's surname, that means the best of oxes, but is loaded with another meanings for obvious reasons. Now coming to Kamala, the courtesan, Kamaswami, the businessman, and Vasudeva, the ferryman. The name Kamala, meaning lotus flower, is an epithet of Lakshmi, the god of wealth. When it comes to business and wealth accumulation, Lakshmi, the god of riches, will bless the venture, and Kamala does so for Siddhartha. Siddhartha meets and makes a fortune with Kamaswami, the businessman. Kamaswami means master of desire. He detains Siddhartha for their mutual profit. Next, Siddhartha meets Vasudeva, an epithet of Vishnu, one of the trinity of major deities in Hinduism, the ferryman who teaches him the meaning of impermanence, that represents the embodiment of one of the Buddha's most arresting sermons. Now coming to discuss the features of the book. The book is written in a very simple manner, so if you are a beginner in philosophical book reading, it wouldn't be much of an issue. There are some Indian philosophical terms that have been used. For example, Atman. As I am an Indian, so to me those are familiar. But if you are unaware, simple Google search is enough as numerous articles are available. Now coming to the translations. I first purchased a Kindle version of the translation of Manjul publication. This one, honestly, it was awful. Terrible sentence structure and a horrible choice of words. It was just ruining my experience. In translation, some of the essence is already lost. Then there was this translation, such a waste of money and time. Then I picked up another two translations. I read both of them. These are the translation by Hilda Rosner and translation by Susan Barnowski. Both of these are up to the mark. Really good. If you want me to recommend, I would highly suggest Hilda Rosner's translation. Well constructed sentences and good choice of words. I have come to know that the original German version of the text is very lyrical in nature. In the translation of Rosner, I have also traced the lyrical nature. The translation of Rosner contains 129 pages. Very short book, but I would suggest reading slowly, cherishing it bit by bit. Speed reading isn't going to give you an award. Instead, understand properly and try to reflect. Finally, that's all matter. A movie adaptation is also available. It's a nice adaptation but not as good as the book itself. I would highly suggest reading the book first. Now rating time. I would like to rate this book a 5 stars out of 5 stars. It's a pocket size powerhouse. I really enjoyed it. It has made me to think and reflect. Here we end today. That's all for today. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and do not forget to share this video with your bookworm friends. I shall be meeting you with another book related video. Till then, bye bye. আবার দেখা হবে.